I do these sessions called wing fluffing.
Wing fluffing.
Wing fluffing, where I teach you how to feel the presence of your guides, of your angels. Literally, some people literally can see wings. And I teach you how to step into the presence, like your powerful presence, how to walk in the world with that inner power.
Exploring the human journey.
My name is Joan of Angels, and I am here for you to step into your highest potential and to remember actually why you're here and all the skills that you came down here with. So I help activate your memories of who you are. I help you step into your greatest gifts. I help you let go of that which no longer serves you as you really seek to live your best life. In 2013, I received messages to paint 33 angels in 30 days. And once I did that, and I put them up on the wall, a book falls off the bookshelf that says, "Your cry for angelic assistance has been heard." And ever since then, they started telling me I was a paintbrush for the divine, so humanity can actually see what they look like, and I bring their messages to people. So I help you connect to your guides, your angels, and your guardians, so you can know that you're not alone and that you can actually have their support. And I do something very unusual. I do these art activations where I actually help align your body, mind, and spirit to the painting. You hold it in your lap, we create a connection, and the artwork is almost like living artwork because it actually helps give you more vitality, it helps give you information, it helps actually align with what your dreams are. And I dive in and I can do these soul essence portraits that actually show what you might look like on the higher realms. I know that each of you has a destiny and you can live your best life now. It's just a matter of learning how to access the tools and the gifts and the memory of what that is. When's your birthday, David?
December 16th.
Really?
Yeah.
I have something interesting to tell you about 16. So my birthday's March 16th, and I was told by a very renowned astrologer that 16 is the sign of royalty.
Okay.
It's the not the sign, but the number of
Tell me
royalty.
more.
So that means that in past lifetimes, you have actually been a royal figure.
Oh, well, I think we've been many things in many different lifetimes, so that makes sense to me.
And so if I figured it out right, December 16th, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 is 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. You're in an amazing year coming up. This year is all about self-confidence, believing in yourself,
Yes.
setting very strong goals in leadership. It's about being honest about what you want and stepping into what we call material and spiritual success.
Oh.
When you're aligned with your heart, when your heart sings yes, and you feel like really on purpose, that's when you're going to be your most successful.
Okay.
So this should be a great year for you.
I receive all of that, and it feels congruent because I've really been feeling my intuition, learning how to trust into that. I was given the religious narrative, you had to trust someone else. And then I was given the spiritual narrative, you have to trust the universe. But it's still someone else. Now I'm like, wait, the universe is me. I'm the one doing all of this. I'm creating my reality. I'm creating my experiences. I'm not a victim to anyone. I'm choosing these things. So I no longer have to trust in the universe. I'm trusting in myself as the universe.
Yeah, no, you're so right. It's very, very important to learn to trust your intuition,
Yeah.
to trust that voice within. And I teach people how you can connect to their light and hear not just their voice, but your higher self and gain all the answers from within.
Yeah. Okay. So I love that. I've heard a lot of people say, come to me, pay me money, and I'll do something at you or for you or your dreams will come true because I'm going to make it work for you, but you need me. And then they maybe say, you probably need 10 sessions with me at, $1,000 a piece. And so it feels like, are you really there to help people or are you just there to create income? So when you're like, hey, the answers are within, tell me more about that.
Well, I want to tell you more about all of that because I've been a practicing chiropractor much of my
Oh,
life. Okay. So you come in with back pain and you want an instant fix. I can see that it might take 10 visits to get you better. Is that because it's the money of that, or that it actually takes time to heal and to develop, like to build up your muscles and to learn how to hold these new positions? So sometimes healing and wellness takes time. However, one of the things I've noticed, because I do a lot of sessions with people, is that a good session is when I can confirm for you the things you're already thinking about. It's not like you need me at all. But what we need sometimes is, because we don't always have trust in our own, we don't trust that voice. When someone who doesn't even know you says, oh, you ought to be going into this business, or I see you. I worked with a woman the other day. I kept going, I see you needing to be unpinned. You unpin people, or you need to be unpinned. Well, yeah, it turned out she had several lawsuits against her,
oh,
and she needed to be unpinned, but it was in the way we framed it. And so we just need confirmation sometimes that what we're thinking, especially if it's outside the box, is really good for us. It's a sign.
yeah. No, I really appreciate that. And it's, the narrative I've heard is the person that calls himself a healer, that they're there to generate income for themselves, and then whether or not they're helping someone is a secondary issue. So that's the narrative. It's, I understand what you're saying about chiropractic, etc.
Well, and I kind of understand what you're saying. There's a skepticism, maybe when someone comes up and says, oh, you might need this much or that much. I don't do that. I just let people work with me as we design a program for them that really will get them the results they want.
Yeah.
Some people have worked with me for several years because it's like levels of progression, and we have to let go of what doesn't serve. And then here we are in a new level, and we need to look and identify and see. So life is a process.
Through the journey of life, something that I'm curious about is the angel realm, because I was given a religious narrative saying angels are the good guys, demons are the bad guys, there's a war in heaven, and there's a fight for your soul. And I was like, oh no, I'm at mercy of whatever's going to happen here. And then I meet other people as I've been growing in this new knowledge of I am creating my life, that say they connect with angels. And then there's an angelic energy and a vibration in the angel realm. I also hear the old ideas that, the 3D idea, when people die, they go into heaven and become angels. I don't think that's right. I think there's a whole different thing going on. What can you share about the angel realm?
The angel realm is very close to us. It's just that we don't have eyes to see. And we're not always at the right vibration to feel their energy. But they are always with us. When I went through this process of painting 33 angels in 30 days, I really wasn't connected to angels until then. But I heard this voice, and what happened for me was an awareness that if I listened to this voice, it would change my life for the better. And so I was guided into painting the angels and then bringing messages through from them. For those of us who are working a light path, it's all about learning how to connect to that voice within, which can also connect it to your guides or your angels and feel their presence and receive their messages. They know what you're here to do. They know your soul contract, and they're always kind of gently nudging you in a certain kind of direction. I've had friends who tell me the most remarkable stories. Like, I have a girlfriend that was at the top of one of those peaks in Mexico, and she was all alone and terrified, didn't know how she was going to get up to the top. And suddenly a man appeared, an old man appeared with a dog. And he took her hand from nowhere. He took her hand, took her up to the top. She turns around to thank him, and he's gone. Or George Norrie, Coast to Coast. I was on his show last month, and he was telling a story about when he was a young boy, and everyone in the house is sound asleep. He's on the second floor, and an angel wakes him up and tells him there's a fire in the house and to rescue his family. And he did. And he attributes to their lives being saved by these angels.
Yeah, I was taught angel means messenger, and they're there bringing information or bringing something. How do angels play in the realm of the spirit guide?
Well, they're also, because they're messengers, they're also protecting you in all things. Their job, one of their roles is to protect you, to watch over you, to kind of gently nudge you in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
So they do. They play a big role in keeping you safe, keeping you connected, keeping you informed. So when I paint angels, so I love painting angels because I feel sort of otherworldly when I'm painting, and I receive messages from them. Sometimes I receive messages about my health or someone else's health, the right direction to take, right business to own. So they are messengers filled with information for your highest good.
So the religious narrative of angels are they're like servants of God who sits on a throne. Give some presence to what your idea is that angels are and their role in our lives.
Well, you know, I wasn't brought up with the religious context, so I really knew nothing about angels when I started painting them. But they're very, very personal. The angels that I paint are interdimensional beings. They look like angels, they have wings, but they're not that traditional classical cherub type of angel.
The cherub, is that the fat baby?
The little fat babies, or some of the gorgeous ones with white wings. They don't all have white wings, they have different colored. Some angels are more interdimensional and don't even have bodies. You can just feel their energy around you. So yes, they're messengers from heaven. There's different levels of angels. But basically, the ones that come to us are the ones that are here to guide us, to give us wisdom, information, confidence, awareness that they're there with us, that we're not alone.
So how does the angel message and your intuition work together?
So sometimes you hear them the same. You know, you can hear messages clairaudiently, which is like a sound in your head. You can hear them as if someone was talking to you. There are some people who see them. I don't necessarily see them. I have seen them a couple of times with my eyes open, but normally it's inside. And we have this whole world in our inner realms that opens up to us. When I get guidance, it usually comes from here. And if it comes as a voice, then I usually know it's my angels. If it comes more as a sense or a feeling, it feels more like my voice within, my higher self, my voice within. However, sometimes they really seem to be the same.
That's how I would think. I would expect it's like the same intuitive thing.
Yeah.
Because as I continue to learn and grow, this consciousness that I have is the same consciousness we all have. That's the oneness. And I'm playing it through my character, and you're playing it through yours, as all of us are. But I'm thinking the intuitive messaging that's bubbling up, that's my inner guidance system.
It is.
So is there like people aren't connecting that intuition, so an angel has to give them a message? Is that what's happening?
It could be a whole lot of things. Some people don't listen. Some people are too busy to listen to that. You know, it's very subtle to catch that voice within, or to hear it, or to acknowledge it. You know, when I learned to do readings for people, it was really strange. I would suddenly see like a little choo-choo train going in front of me.
Oh.
And it would have like a ring on it, or a seashell, or a little message. I was like, oh, and I'd start just rambling it off to my client. It was like, oh, that meant something to them. But identifying that voice within sometimes is not so easy. You know, it just makes no sense. So the first thing is really learning how to catch what they're saying to you in that sense, and feeling if it feels right. Or exploring it with the other person, saying, well, does this make sense to you? Like I kept going to her, I keep hearing you're supposed to be unpinned. It made no sense to me. I don't know what she needs to be unpinned from, but that sense or feeling of a big picture. So the voice within is the best guidance system you have. You can call it angel, you can call it voice within. Sometimes it doesn't need to be differentiated, because it's all coming, as you said, from that higher guidance, from that universal consciousness.
That's interesting. Something you said a few minutes ago was that you weren't given a religious narrative, which fascinates me. People that were just like, oh yeah, I was taught about love and light, and I was taught about the world and the universe, and you can do it and you create. And I was like, wow, you are so different than me to have those as narratives. Tell me how did you get to this space?
So I did have a religious narrative, but I didn't really believe in it, didn't really listen to it. Really didn't even study angels growing up. I just had this traditional point of view. Angel has white wings. They're going to come to you and rescue you when you need it. I had no connection with that. But I did always know that there was something more. So when I was a little girl, and I was in school, I was in Hebrew school, and I remember the teacher said, "Well, what do you think about God?" And I went, "Oh, well, God kind of seems to be crazy to me. He's nice one day and he's mean the next day."
That's Old Testament God.
Okay?
Yeah.
Old Testament God, nice one day, mean the next day.
And you never quite know where you stand. That's a lot of dread.
Not only that, but the more reading that I do, living with that, of course, that culture was traumatized because their life was always at being threatened.
Yeah.
But also, I also learned the following, which really changed my whole perspective. This is really what pushed me into spirituality. Was in the Old Testament, there's several things. These are the days that the sons of God married the daughters of man, or took them as wives.
Yeah.
I looked at that sentence. I'm 10 years old, 5 years old, and I always would raise my hand. What does that mean, that the sons of God mated with the daughters of men? Of course, the teachers couldn't answer that. And then these are the days giants roamed on the earth. And because of that, those like two different paragraphs, it changed my whole perspective of the world.
Yeah.
And so I've always been intuitive, and I've always really had a connection that tells me that there's more. And that actually stayed with me my entire life and just helped me open up to, what does that mean? Who are these sons of God? And who are these giants that walked the planet?
And
I still do a deep dive into it, which is very, very fascinating. My hobby is researching giants on the planet.
Okay, tell me
and
more.
The history of giants. And you can see giants in the mountains. You can see the faces. So have you been up to Sedona?
Yes.
Thunder Mountain. Have you seen Thunder Mountain?
I haven't noticed any giant faces on it.
Well, if you get in a certain place, you'll see he's got a nose, almost like a mouth.
Yeah.
And if you look at pictures of different rocks, you can actually see some of them look like beings. There's a rock in Palm Springs where I used to live, Taquit's Canyon. And he was the god of Taquit's. And he looks like a man. You can see it. You can see it if you look from above down. You'll see rocks that look like turtles, giant turtles. Huge, giant turtles. It's the only thing they could be. Or figures of usually men. You can see their outline in the rocks.
What do you think it is?
I think they were giants. I think at one point on the planet, there's a lot of evidence in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Throughout America, they were finding burial sites of ancient giant remains. You can see it in the history books. So, the cities used to have their history record, the historical record, every town. And they would say, 1898, we found 4 giant skeletal remains, 8 feet tall. And what happened? The Smithsonian came and took all those giant remains. Anytime they were called, they put them in their basement and then they destroyed them. There was a lawsuit about that recently, where it turned out that they admitted to destroying all of the evidence of the giants here on the planet, or here in America.
Why?
That is hard to think about. It's like, why would they destroy our history? Why is it important that we don't know that there's pictures from the 1900s that have giants standing next to people our height?
Yeah.
From the 1900s, and they've been destroying those too. I don't know why they don't want us to know. I can speculate that if we knew that, maybe, why are we so short? What happened to all the giants? So I don't have all the answers. I'm still searching.
Well, there's a lot of speculation on human origins. I mean, what in the world? How did human beings get here? Nobody even has a narrative they know for sure. Oh, okay, we went from cells to bipedal hominids, and then suddenly we're now human beings, that the only being that's aware of itself, the Homo sapiens, somehow it has a sense of awareness. Whoa. There's a few steps in here that had to have gotten skipped. So what are some of your ideas?
I was in Egypt this summer.
I
took 2 groups of people to Egypt. And our tour guide took us to a beautiful hieroglyph. I think it was in the Luxor Temple. And when we went in the Luxor Temple, I got to go there twice because I took 2 different groups. And the first night I was there, we had this private dinner. It was magnificent to walk around these hieroglyphs and these giants. And some of the women were talking about feeling a very bad energy there. They came out and said, oh my God, it feels like there were thousands of people massacred. I thought, well, this is interesting. This is strange. So the next time I got to go to them, our tour guide takes us to the hieroglyph and he shows us where the pictures are of them cloning humans. So
In the hieroglyphs?
yeah, in the hieroglyphs, you can
Wow.
see the images of the Egyptians. They have this long tube, and there's beings sort of lined up, and they're genetically modifying their DNA code. So they're upgrading their DNA. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And so speculation is that that's how humanity became humans. We became this particular incarnation of us. So not only did they talk about cloning humans, they also talked about humans as slaves. And we were slaves to some of these giants that came down, or these extraterrestrials. We were there to mine their gold. They were creating humans to mine gold for them and to be their servants and to grow their food and also to be their food. Hate to say that, but humans apparently were very tasty.
Oh, well, I've heard about the Anunnaki, and
And
that
that's
was
what we're talking
a
about.
general term for whatever this extraterrestrial entities. Maybe there were many different races, whatever, but that's the global term that's been used. They somehow needed to enslave some bipedal hominid and to get gold for them. And I've watched lots of YouTube rabbit holes and studied that.
Right.
And it's fascinating. So I mean, there is some narrative that the archaeological system doesn't want us to know human origins. And I'm like, okay, well, tell me why. Why don't
Right.
you want us to know where we came
Right.
from?
The rabbit hole is so deep.
Yeah.
I mean, there's evidence that it's not even 2024, that it's 1024, that they altered the history, altered the timeline. I find this fascinating. We come down to the planet. This is what I tell them. We have a mission. We have a purpose. Many of us are volunteers that really chose to come down here. So we come down, we wake up again, we have all of our skills are not intact. I mean, we come down with them, we come with the knowledge of them in our soul contract, but we don't remember them. Our memories are wiped clean each lifetime, and then they change the rules down here. So it actually makes it really hard to live 70 or 80 years and recall these memories and start to become awake and aware and start to question. Because life is a full-time job here.
Life is a full-time job.
It is. And this is a difficult planet.
Yeah.
It is not an easy planet.
Yeah.
And, because I know you do your regressions, people start to talk about why they came and they volunteered. But you forget that completely when you get down here. Your ability to connect to your guides and hear your inner voice is gone. You're told you're crazy if you see angels or fairies or walk around. And many children have shut up and lost those skills because they were told not to do that, that was bad. But if we get back to and we really think about it, we were modified. We're genetically modified humans. It's a weird thing to say. We were food. We were slaves. Some people speculate that that Earth is not only a prison planet, but it's a farm, a human farm. We have millions of children that go missing. Not over years, we have hundreds of thousands and millions of kids that go missing on our planet. Where do they end up? I don't know.
I don't either.
I don't want to say.
Well, there's a level.
I actually don't want to say because there's a lot of talk now about what happens to these children.
There is a level of conspiracy that has become conspirituality. Spirituality and conspiracy. And so that's something that a lot of people are really into. Is that something that you're into, is conspiracies and the meaning of them? And
I should start with my background. I'm a chiropractor.
okay.
I've been a chiropractor for many years, over 40 years. I guess I'm an old-time chiropractor. I was trained that your body can heal anything from inside out. If you can turn on your connection to source and to infinite intelligence, innate intelligence, you can actually heal your body.
Mm-hmm.
And as I started practicing, and I learned all these techniques of old-fashioned remedies that can help heal you, and nutritional remedies that could help heal you, I contrasted it with the medical profession, pharmaceuticals, and I began to realize that they were lying about many things. Of course, I was considered a quack because that's how they demonize you. That you shouldn't listen to that quack or that conspiracy theorist that something's wrong with your food. So they actually have a diagnosis code for people who are into organic food.
What?
Mm-hmm. They have a diagnosis code now for people who won't take vaccines. They have a diagnosis code for people who won't believe what they're, quote, laying down. And I began to notice that I knew that there'd be side effects to this, this, and this. And by the way, you know, hundreds of thousands of people die every year from side effects of drugs and medicine. They don't talk about it.
Yeah.
They do not talk about it.
Yeah.
They demonize you. They make it seem like you're the quack. So I would talk to my patients for years about certain medications, and they say, oh, I went back, my doctor said you're a quack and it's safe. And then 5 years later, they, of course, find out that estrogen is not safe. But I knew that ahead of time. I have that sense that I could tell.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's this innate divine intelligence that the body has. I mean, I'm sure that you were able to tap into that and then see it in people's lives.
I could see that if we can just turn on your power to heal, your body would restore itself.
Yeah. Well, I've seen that firsthand. You know, I filmed that docuseries Journeys into the Soul, and I saw people have physical healing in their bodies. You know, Dr. Erica Middlemiss is a naturopathic doctor, and she did the quantum healing hypnosis technique with her client, Becky. I filmed it. And I watched Becky, I got a sore knee. And she did the session, and she said, do a body scan. And Becky and her higher self said, she's got an issue with her left knee about not wanting to move forward, but now she knows that she can move forward using her own intuition to walk the path. And I ended up naming that the episode. So then Erica said, well, can you heal that for her? And her higher self goes, yeah, I can heal that for her. And I just watched Becky go, that's weird, because she's like hearing these words come out of her mouth in this relaxed state. And so she had a healing in her knee. At the end of this episode, she's like, hey, how's your knee? She's like, oh my God. And she's moving her knee up and down, and she's like, it's healed. And I did a 2-week follow-up with her.
It was
2
still
weeks later,
healed.
still healed. I did a 1-year follow-up with her not too long ago. I had bonus content, still healed. So I do know that in that space within us, the answers are within. I've seen that physical healing. And I hear people, I've heard stories of people that have been free from stage 4 cancer through that. Awareness has been expanded in their internal state, and they've seen themselves in their divine magnificence. And I've seen people have healing, powerful modalities.
Right. And I've seen it with chiropractic. My mom was in the hospital dying of cancer, and the man I trained with, Dr. Allender, came over, and he did one adjustment of my mom. This bone right up here, which is, I call it the consciousness adjustment.
Oh.
It connects you to the angel realms. It connects you with an innate intelligence. He did this one move on my mom. We went out for lunch. I should have prefaced this. The doctor had said my mom's dying. Call your family to come around. So I called Dr. Allender quick.
Makes sense.
He adjusted my mom. We go out for lunch. We come back, and mom is sitting up, demanding to go home. The doctor came in. He said, I don't know what you did to your mom, but I'll authorize this care. Anything you want, I'll get it paid for. He could not believe that mom was sitting up, ready to go home.
Wow.
But I knew in my heart that that's what true healing can do.
That's incredible. I love stories like that because it lets us know we have this innate, this divine intelligence in our body that's designed. And if you can get that intuition, whatever that space is. So you're also working with that in connection to intuition and messaging.
I am.
Tell me more.
Well, I realized this recently. I always tell my patients, my clients, you know, I do a spiritual chiropractic where I can do healings on Zoom. It's kind of quite amazing, or in person. And we turn on your power to heal. And that has to do partly with this switch back here. But I realized one day after the session, I said to them, like, we've just turned on your power. And then I remembered, and I just do it automatically. that after every adjustment that I made, all those years I was in my office, I would adjust them, I would adjust their neck, and I'd say, oh, we just turned on your power. Have a great day.
Yeah.
And so all these years, that's what I do. I turn on people's ability to heal, to have more vitality, to see the truth, to listen, to receive downloads, to live a healthier and happier, more balanced life.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that you're connecting to when you're doing your paintings with your angels? Tell me about that process. How's that work for you?
So when I do the physical art, so when I started painting, and I was not a trained painter, literally I just received messages and images, and I would just sometimes close my eyes and paint, and something would come out that would be extraordinary.
If I closed my eyes and painted, something would come out, but it wouldn't look like what you're doing. So you got to be more specific.
It was extraordinary. My hands, it was like my arms were being guided.
Oh, is it like an automatic writing where people are writing
Yes,
stuff?
it was like thank you. Yes, it was like an automatic writing. And then I would finish, and at that time I was living with a group of people. One of my friends, Heather, said, oh my God, that's exactly like my sister who died a few years ago. And my friend Scott said, oh my God, that looks like my mother.
Oh, wow.
And so people around me, I started giving them all this artwork too, because it looked like their family. I didn't intentionally try to do that. Now, when I create art, and I've been doing a lot of digital art because I travel so much, can't carry a paintbrush with me, I just sit down and I connect. I call in the light. I ask for higher guidance. I ask that the beings that want to come through. And it does happen. It's almost like I go into a trance. I'm in a meditative state. I cannot tell you how I created most of the art that I showed you. I could never go back and reproduce them. I have no idea. It's almost like I'm in a zone. I'm in a trance state, and I just do it, on my computer or on my phone, and it's done. And I get breathless. I mean, I can tell you that it's almost like an orgasmic experience. It's like something comes through me. I'm in a zone.
Oh, so you're feeling an energy then?
Yeah, I'm feeling an energy until it's complete. And that's how I paint too. When I paint, I go into that zone. I'm just in almost like ecstasy as I'm painting.
The closest I've had is an experience of playing the piano and just flowing, and it's just this beautiful intuitive music and just emoting emotions and feelings with that.
Yeah, me too. And I play piano.
Do you? Awesome.
I do. I'm not that good at it, but I've played for years, and sometimes I would just go into my own trance with it too. Something so satisfying about that.
Yeah, I like that expanded state of awareness where you're able to tap into that intuition and create, because I think ultimately that's what we're here to do, is to create. We're creating the life that we have. And this one consciousness, from your perspective, you're creating, from my perspective, I'm creating, but it's this one consciousness.
Right. And this energy comes through us. It's almost like whatever energies there are out there want us to be able to express them and feel them and show others what they look like. And you do it through your film. It's just important to us.
Yeah. Well, I've had the quantum physics tried to be explained to me in the best they can for a caveman, and it feels like there's a few principles. One is everywhereness. There's this element of quantum physics that says things are available, energy is everywhere, and it's all about energy. But the energy isn't a solid thing. It's merely a realm of probability or possibility depending on the observer and the intention that it has. So that's where science and spirituality begin to blend, and you start to see how things are impacted and affected by our thought process and our intention process, because we have awareness. And there's something magical about that.
I used to tell people you can only have two thoughts in your head at a time. It's either a good thought, one thought could either be positive or negative. If you switch it to the positive, so you can choose whichever your thoughts are, but you're going to get back what you think.
Yeah.
This air, this energy around us, they used to call it ether. It's all consciousness. And it's almost like other people can read it. Like if you're angry, they can see its little sign. Joan's angry. But almost like that, our thoughts really do stick around us, and they color our auric field. So best to think positive.
Yeah, that's a hard space for some people to be in when they just don't understand that because they feel like they're a victim of their circumstances. I mean, I lived with a religious narrative for a lot, and I was like, I'm a victim. And then I learned in spirituality that your thoughts create your reality. I'm like, oh no, I don't like the reality. So then I'm victimized, and it's that. It doesn't matter where it comes from. If you think you're a victim of something, I mean, but when I'm starting to go, oh wait, I'm creating all of these circumstances in my life merely so I can have an experience and know how that feels. And then I know, oh, I know what I don't like to feel. So I've learned to have appreciation for things. If it's something that there's some circumstances occurring to me, I go, okay, well, I appreciate that I had the experience of bankruptcy in my life. Okay, I know what that feels like. I don't need to have that experience again. So I give gratitude and I give appreciation for that. And that's how I'm able to stay in that vibrational space. So I don't have to be like, oh, I'm a victim of everything. What would you speak about that?
Well, first of all, it's kind of funny. I've lost everything twice.
Mm-hmm.
And I get up on stage and I say, I've lost everything twice before it was fashionable. That's sort of my lighthearted point of view. But yeah, life is all about learning. From the day we're born, all right, it's written that your soul contract of what you came here to do has already been known. You came here to help wake up people and to help them remember who they are, and you have all these gifts. But it's also known on the other side what we're here to do, and it's almost like there's a counterforce. And so many, we were talking about spiritual people, light workers, so many people who've had really horrendous childhoods and difficult families and experiences that I think are designed to keep them from questioning their lives and keep them from moving forward and keep them more oppressed and in a victim state. And so our life is even designed to wake us up or overpower us. I mean, it really, some people never wake up because their early experiences were too traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
But for the rest of us, for you and I, it's like learning how to see the big picture, letting go of all of that doesn't serve us, let go of the fact that we had horrific upbringing or whatever kind of childhood trauma we have, knowing that almost everyone has had that experience. It's really here to teach us how to overcome it, how to set better boundaries, how to stand up for ourselves, how to go after what we want. It strengthens us in the long run.
Yeah.
Not that I'm excusing it or want more, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's really designed. For some cases, people do not go after their, don't step up to their highest potential because of their childhood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's that heavy vibration of leaning into that aspect of like, oh, I had this trauma, and they have their trauma and their drama, and they replay it and replay it and replay it and live in that space and live in that space. It was like, okay, at some point, I've said my story so much, I'm like, I'm sick of that energy of like, poor me, I don't want those narratives. So I'm like, okay, what else is there? And I'm learning that in this consciousness, this awareness, and this energy of creativity is where the joy comes from. It's so much more fun to make things. Even this show is something I'm making. I'm having these conversations. It's like an ascension portal, each conversation, because it moves consciousness going, I wonder if this could be, and it creates new ideas and new thoughts. Because David in 2015 was looking for new ideas and new thoughts. And I'm kind of doing this show for myself years back before I was like, wow, if I would have heard of this or heard of that, maybe I would have had information to help me along my journey. And that was part of my awakening process.
And now you're sharing that with other people for their journey. Yes. Yeah. And you came in to do these films to help awaken people. Yeah. That's part of your mission. So imagine if all of your childhood trauma or your fears kept you from doing this.
Exactly.
Many people would not have awoken.
Yeah, people stay in that vibration of poor me rather than just saying, okay, it happened, just accept it, choose that it happened, because at some conscious level in this whole thing, you were the creator of that for an experience, for something you wanted to have. And so acknowledge you had it and then move forward. And it doesn't mean that you can't include that and inform your life, but transcend it. So I like to include and transcend and move forward.
Right. Well, yes, transcend and move forward and move upward.
Yeah. Raise
your frequency, raise your energy, think positive, learn how to kind of wipe off or get rid of all your negative thoughts and move on.
Mm-hmm.
Because honestly, the big thing that they've learned about consciousness is that we really do create it.
Mm-hmm.
We get what we're putting out.
Yeah.
And if we're putting out negative thoughts, we're going to get it back, and we live stuck in it. So part of life is really learning how to let go and uplift.
Mm-hmm. And the letting go is that need to control everything, because if I control, I don't have to trust in myself and the intuition I have. Just let it go.
Yep.
That's been the challenge for me, is to be in that space of the unknown. I'm like, oh, I want to know the future. Am I going to be okay? Oh, is it going to work out?
You know, in 2020, right when all the stuff hit the planet, I remember having these visions, and I was stuck clinging to a rock. I felt like a crab. I couldn't let go. I knew I needed to move. I'd been in the desert by then 6 years. I knew it was time to leave. Couldn't figure out where to go. And so instead, whenever I would envision my future, I was holding on to this rock. Very traumatic, because I didn't want to let go. 2022, a friend of mine came along, and I started working with him, and I started traveling around the world. And still not knowing where I'm going, but realized ultimately, oh my God, I've let go of that rock. And I may not know where the future is, but I'm actually enjoying my life now. So when you let go and you don't cling so hard and you just relax into it. So I don't know where I'm going to end up living, David. I'm going to Europe again this summer. Last summer I was in Europe 6 months. I don't have a permanent home yet, but I'm not in fear anymore, because I've learned how to navigate the unknown, and I guess I'm going where I'm called.
Yeah.
And I have another outrageous summer planned, Barcelona, speaking. All my dreams are coming true.
So good.
Yeah.
I had the experience of creating Journeys into the Soul going through Europe, which I'd never had expected I would ever have done that. And it was just the space of being able to be in, like, I'll try this and I'll trust that it'll work out. And it does. And no matter what happens, there's an experience there. There's something there. And as you continue to lean into that intuition, you watch how it unfolds.
Yes. And so, I teach about intuition. It's one of my favorite topics, listening to the voice within, trusting the guidance so you can make immediate decisions, right? In fact, I have a class coming up called the Badass Angel Academy.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, how to be a badass angel, how to be able to project yourself in the future and determine if that's even the path to take, or say no. To say no before disaster happens, which you can only get if you can really pay super attention to that voice within and the messages that you're getting. So that's one thing that I teach. But I have a really good practice that I teach my clients, which is that, how you walk around and maybe you had a thought that you shouldn't take this freeway today because there's going to be, you just hear, don't take that freeway. But you do it anyway, and you're stuck in traffic all day.
Yeah.
All right, so I have people write down in a journal all the times you did not listen to your intuition. So one day, I heard a voice. I just come out of my tax attorney's 2013. I had my kids' taxes and mine, the copies here. Fortunately, he had sent it digitally. And I go to my car, and it's a rental car, and I open up the trunk, and I hear a voice that says, don't put your tax returns in the trunk. And I go, what? And the voice really implied, if you put it, the trunk is going to blow open, and you're going to lose those tax returns. Well, I thought that was crazy, right? Wouldn't you think that's crazy if you hear a voice that says, don't put your tax returns in this trunk? So I said, screw it. And I put them in the trunk. Sure enough, stop at a light, trunk opens, tax returns are gone, but there's too much traffic. I would have been killed if I hopped out of my car. And so by the time I pulled over, there's no tax returns left in my car. And 3 days later, I get a phone call from LA Public Works employee. He had my daughter's tax returns. So, and I've never gotten them back. He promised to send them to me. Of course, I never got them. But that taught me a huge lesson. That whenever I really get those promptings, to start to listen to them.
Yeah.
And when you keep that, when you track it, you get to see, oh my God, I should have listened.
Yeah.
I didn't listen. That's one way to train.
Yeah. I've always enjoyed that idea of the intuition comes up because you need to make a change of whatever you're going to do. Because if you were taking those tax forms and you were going to put them inside the front of your car in the front seat in a box or something, you never would have heard that. But no, you were going to put them somewhere else. And so your intuition is there to give you like, don't do that. And if you're like, wow, that's crazy. Well, your intuition isn't going to tell you to get up in the morning and eat breakfast because you were already going to do that. So
That's really, yeah.
when I hear that come up, I'm like, okay, there's a reason I'm getting this idea. And then I'm like, is it just me making this up? Is it real? Is it just me making it up?
But of course, is it me? Right. So one day I was supposed to take my kids to Disneyland. And we were all getting up at 4 a.m. I lived in San Francisco area, and their friends were sleeping over. We were having a big party, going to Disneyland the next day.
Oh, that's a big thing.
I was that kind of mother. Yeah. I get up at 4 o'clock, it's raining out, and I ask my pendulum. And I just decided that I was going to listen to this voice within and the confirmation with my pendulum, right? And it says, don't go. So I'm sitting there going, is it safe for us to go? Should I wake up the kids? And I keep getting, no, don't go, no. And I'm asking all sorts of questions. Oh, will I get in an accident? Or, I get no answer except don't go. 5 o'clock, don't go. 7 o'clock, don't go. My kids wake up, they're furious. Mom, why haven't we left? I said, we can't go till tomorrow. And so all day I couldn't figure it out, right? 2 o'clock, I go outside, and it had been raining, and the retaining wall in my backyard, because I lived in the hills, the retaining wall was now like this.
Ooh, wow.
45-degree angle. The neighbor's house, which was, here's the pool, here's the neighbor's house, I could see it starting to slip. Oh. The erosion that happened on this side was just as bad as this side. The retaining walls are coming down. If we had been in Disneyland at that time, my neighbor's house would have been in our pool.
Oh, wow.
And I would have had just disaster. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, I was home. I was home because the pendulum would not let me go, and I had promised to listen to it. I had promised. I said, it was like, I'm not going to challenge it next time. I don't remember why I decided that, but it was like, I am going to listen. And thank God I listened.
Mm. Wow, that is a powerful story.
I know, right?
So when you're in a class of working with people and you're telling them, what are some of the things you're telling them to look for and to experience?
Well, the first one is to start tracking. You don't know where you are until you figure it out. And tracking makes you realize that, oh my goodness, they've been trying to reach me for a long time. Because we go, I should have listened. How come I didn't listen, right? I should have known not to go that way. And so when you start to realize you heard that voice, then you start to track, well, how did you hear it? Oh, it was just a feeling. Where did you feel it? Oh, I feel it over here. You have to start to train to hear. It's very subtle. It's not like you hear a microphone that goes, hey, David, down there, or Joan, don't leave. It doesn't speak to you like that. So there's that willingness to listen and pay attention. But honestly, that's the first step, is to see when you've listened to it and it's accurate, and when you haven't, and you paid the price for it.
Yeah.
Because there has to be a motivation. And also because we're trained to think logically and not trust the, quote, illogical or the intuition. My whole life, maybe because I'm a Pisces, has been based on intuition. It's been my way of being. I know more. When I used to work on patients chiropractically, I would just talk to them about their life, and my hands would do these things. I wasn't even in charge of my fingers. And then they'd go, Joan, how did you know I hurt there?
Oh, wow.
Well, I actually didn't know they hurt there, but my fingers knew they hurt there. Mm-hmm. So we have all sorts of ways of feeling this kind of energy. We just have to pay attention. So I knew if my fingers went on their middle back, they were hurting. But I couldn't have told you that they were hurting by looking at them.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you're using this physicality along with this intuition coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We have all these senses. We have eyes, we can hear, we can see, we can smell. My sister, who doesn't claim that she has any intuitive gifts, though, will feel my mother. So my mother died when I was in my 30s. She will smell my mom's perfume, Shalimar.
Wow.
And she'll say, Mom's here. And one time when I was with her, I smelt it. But I don't ordinarily smell anything like that. But that is also an intuitive gift, the gift of smell,
Yeah.
the gift of taste. It's almost like people can taste it. And the gift of clear sight and knowing. You know, that feeling. Some people act like they're know-it-alls, like they seem to know everything. And that is also a gift of clairsentience, to be able to know what you know because you know it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In the church, we were taught the Holy Spirit would speak to you, but it was always this outside entity. And then as I've deconstructed from some other thing will give you a message, I'm like, wait, that still small voice is my intuition. It's my connection to the divine cosmic connection of consciousness or whatever that. It's my intuition. That's my voice. That's what it is. And so, boy, once I had started to get that right tuning, that right channel,
Right. It is a channel.
tuning into the right frequency, I'm like, okay. Now, there are times when I'm like, hey, I need to make a decision. And nothing comes. I'm like, what is going on? What do you do when you're frustrated and you're like, I got to make a decision. I have to either put money down on this thing or not. And I'm not sure what to do. Here's all the things that could go bad. Here's all the things that could go right. Here's other. When you get into that overthinking, what do you do?
Oh my God, that's a torturous state to be in.
Yeah.
Okay. So I teach my clients a tool called the discernment tool, right? Scale. And so I have you can do it right now with me. You can imagine a horizontal line.
Okay.
And on the left is 0 and on the right is 10. And there's a clock hand. So 0 means you're dead, no vitality. It's done. This is more neutral and this is turned on.
Okay.
100%. So you can close your eyes and imagine a situation in the future. Say, imagine the next person you're going to do an interview with.
Okay.
And you just go on a scale of 1 to 10. How successful is that interview going to be? How confident I feel in that?
And so then what do I do with my hand?
Well, you don't
Do
do
I feel
anything,
anything,
but imagine the clock hand.
Is this my
It'll go
0
from-
and this is my 10?
This is your 0.
Oh,
this
so
is
mine's
your
mirrored
10.
to yours then. Okay.
Well, left is 0. Isn't that left, right?
Yeah.
That's left.
Yeah.
So left is 0, right is 10. And just imagine, close your eyes and think of a situation. And on a scale of 1 to 10, how comfortable are you really? So think of it as something you have planned.
Okay.
And think, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how comfortable am I going to be in that situation?
So I'll have to work on that because I'm not getting anything coming up for me.
Okay, but practice that. On a scale of 1 to 10, how happy am I about doing this? How comfortable am I feeling right now? It's like an 8 or 9. I'm pretty happy here. And so I would do this with my clients all the time.
If you said 1 or 2, I was going to be really upset.
I know, see? But you can practice with that.
So does the scale, am I feeling like what a number would be? Is that what I'm looking
Yeah,
for?
so when I do it with audiences, I usually have people raise their hand. Who felt they were I'll ask you what your vitality feels like. Overall vitality on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your energy? It's probably more concrete. What's your energy feel like? And people go anywhere from probably a 2 to about an 8 or 9. Very few people feel like they're fully empowered. So they go from that, and then I teach them tools to raise your energy, just using your mind to fix that scale or turn on a switch. Because we all have a switch that needs to be turned on.
Tell me more about that.
Well, remember I told you there is a switch here, right up here, that you can turn on energetically.
In my head?
Between your skull and the top of your neck. It's the Atlas axis connection. And
Can you show me on my neck?
Yeah, it's kind of right. So this is where it would be, right in here.
In here? Okay.
And if the vertebrae have moved, it'll jam and it'll actually interfere with the nerve flow and the energy flow, innate intelligence flow from the brain down through your body. So that will happen.
I've never heard of that before.
But I do it very differently. So I worked with a lot of AIDS patients back in the day in Berkeley.
Yeah.
And they would come in very concerned about their test scores. How do I, my white blood count, my lymph, my red blood count. So we would work with their scores, and let's say they needed more white blood cells. I would teach them to just imagine that you have a switch and you're turning it up, off, on.
Mm.
In the middle, low, medium, high. You can create the switch however you want. But if you're feeling low vitality, or you're feeling ill, or you want your test scores higher, you have to turn your energy up, literally. And so I just use a little dial to literally have people look and see. And usually they feel a difference because I can muscle test to feel it.
Yeah, that is so useful. That imagine the dial being turned up. That's so useful.
And then, so I do this on stage with people. I always have a volunteer come up and we test them, and they'll say, well, my vitality is at a 5. All right, and I can muscle test them and it comes out, yes, your vitality is a 5. Do you want it to be higher? And then I'll do something really crazy. I'll whisper to the audience and I'll say, turn up her dial to 10 and send her thoughts that she's a 10. Now, this person in muscle testing, she's strong at a 5, and she wasn't a 10. But when I ask her to repeat, I'm a 10, she's strong. She's strong because the whole audience, and this gets back to what you were talking about with even in the field of quantum field.
Quantum entanglement.
The whole audience is sending a vibe, you're a 10.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, they're a 10. And then I teach you how to hold that. So I do that when I activate art for people. I do that when I help people learn how to activate their body. Now, I've had people who actually test for being a 10 in vitality and in wellness. And then I'll have the audience send them a thought, you're a 0. You're a 0. That's all they send to them. You're a 0.
Wow.
And that person gets up there very confident, usually men, because they were 10.
Oh, yeah.
And the next thing they know, they have no power. Wow. And they go, what the heck happened?
Yeah, I'm a man, the man. What's going on?
Right? Because they tested as a 10. Mm-hmm. You know, I'll take people out who here thinks they're a 10, and we test them and they're a 10. And then I can have the audience turn off their power.
Oh my God. I bet that is the funnest thing for you to do.
Oh
to
my
find
God.
the biggest, toughest guy out there.
I'm a show woman.
Oh, yeah.
I'm an actress at heart. And I love being on stage. I love speaking. I want to speak all around the world. And that's very powerful. Now, I'll take someone who's at a 0 or a low energy, and I'll have them hold my art.
Oh.
Okay, they'll hold my art. So it's just energy, the art. And suddenly they're testing as a 10. Because certain objects, if they're encoded with higher frequency, can raise your frequency. So sure enough, they'll hold the art, and suddenly they have a lot of energy and vitality.
Wow.
It's very exciting.
Well, I think there's a space of intuition. The answers are within, you know, that you're gonna be able to find that. And sometimes we need guidance. We need to know what we don't know. I'm a scuba diver, and one of the lessons that you learn when you're doing your scuba training is if you're at a new dive site, always get somebody to show you what's around down there. Just jump in and figure it out.
Buddy?
You and your buddy, you're in a new place. Have someone show you the cool things in that dive site area. Are there any riptides? Are there any things I need to be aware of? And so in life, you need to have somebody show you around sometimes. Sometimes when we can't get that connection, we need somebody to show us around on our intuition.
And as we started off in the beginning, to confirm what you're thinking.
Yeah.
To confirm you're on the right path. So sometimes having outside someone who can see clearly give you that information helps, but it has to still resonate. I can tell you all sorts of things, but if it doesn't resonate for you, you know, it's really off. It's not true.
Yeah. So you've got the things that you're doing, helping people. Tell me about the thing about soul portrait or soul paintings or something like that.
Oh, my favorite.
Tell me what is going on with this?
So the soul portrait captures the essence of who you are, but not on this plane. As a superpower figure or in a higher consciousness, maybe as an angelic being or a star being. But my artwork will capture who you are or what you came here to do on these other realms. So you'll come in, we do it on Zoom, I do a session with you where I ask questions, I keep working with you until I have a sense of what it feels like you're here to do. And we all have many aspects, not just one, we have many aspects. And so then after that session, I will really tune in and start creating images. So I'll create 50 to 100 images. And now I'm doing all these digitally. And once I'm done with that, I then I get rid of most of them. I keep like 15, because they have to be perfect. They have to they have to give me a feeling of something deep. And so then I create a little video. You can see it on my YouTube channel. I create a little video, and then we have another session, and I go through the video with you, and I channel all the information that came through to me. And then together we look at them, and usually we both agree on the same one. So far, we've always agreed on the same one. It's
Cool.
sort of interesting to me. And then I have it printed up for you. 24 inches, 2 feet by 18 inches, and I send it to you. And when that's done, we have an activation. And so it's a great session. The painting, usually I have you sitting under the painting so that you can be aligned with the energies of the painting. And I teach you how to work with that painting so that the painting acts as an intuition tool for you.
Wow. What a beautiful tool to give me the idea of that ascension into my magnificence. Because I'm playing my avatar David here, but I get to be in that soul realm, that essence.
And it's hard for you to deny how powerful you are if you have it on this canvas.
Yeah.
A very powerful, amazing being.
Yeah.
With light coming out, connected to the soul realm. It's hard to say, I'm worthless, or, I can't do anything right, when you can see how magnificent you really are.
And so you're building these with just things you've gleaned from talking, and then what you're feeling coming up in you.
Yep. And it's quite tricky, but quite fun. So for me, it's like really paying attention to the subtle feelings I have. And I'm very excited about it. So once I get the video and I get permission, I've been putting it up on my YouTube so you can see.
Oh, cool. Wow. What other offerings do you do through your website?
Well, so through the website, I also have an art website. So if you go to joanofangels.com, you can get taken to all the art. So I have a lot of art, and I offer special art activations, which I've never heard of anyone doing them, but I do that once you get the art home. But I have very interesting services. So I do what we call soul awakening sessions, or spiritual advising sessions, where I work with you to help you gain clarity on what your gifts are this life, what you came here to do, what you need to let go of. We clear away what's keeping you stuck. We raise your vibrational frequency so you can move forward. I teach you how to turn on your power. So I do have some sessions where I will just turn on your power.
That's amazing.
And teach you how to go from like a 3 to a 10. That's a great class. How to go from a 3 to a 10.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so many times you just feel the burden of life, or I have to have the work or the income or the tenuous relationship with your family members or whatever those things are. And you're just like, oh, my vitality is just drained. And I mean, listening to a conversation with someone complain, you're just like, so when you're in that energy, it's like, so you have to get out of it. And it's nice to be able to go, I'm going to turn up my intensity of my vibration, of my vitality.
That's right. And I do teach a session. I do these sessions called wing fluffing.
Wing fluffing.
Wing fluffing, where I teach you how to feel the presence of your guides, of your angels. Literally, some people literally can see wings. And I teach you how to step into the presence, like your powerful presence, how to walk in the world with that inner power so that people can sense there's something amazing about you, and it protects you out in the world.
Where did you find the vibration of Joan of Angels?
So I told you in 2013, I received intuitive messages to paint 33 angels in 30 days. And I did it. I was really good. And then when I said, well, what should I do with it? They said, paint us and we will come. The next thing you know, I'm painting huge canvases, eyes closed, painting huge canvases and painting. And then I was told I needed to move to the desert, in the Palm Springs area, so I could hear, so I could start listening to that voice and get closer to these angels. So I moved to Desert Hot Springs. Day 2, I'm being introduced to a new person. I had one person who was there, she said, I'll introduce you to my best friend here. We go out for breakfast. Busy breakfast cafe. And the woman says to me, she looks at me like this. She said, what did you say your name was? And I go, well, Dr. Joan Handgarter. I'm starting to say doctor. She goes like this. She says, say nothing, say nothing. So the whole restaurant went quiet in my head. I heard nothing. And she goes, I know who you are. You're Joan of Angels. Just like that.
Wow.
And I thought she was going to say Joan of Arc. Because and that resonated for me because I had been, I just was fascinated by Joan of Arc my whole life. So I thought she somehow picked up on it, was going to say Joan of Arc, but she said Joan of Angels. And it resonated for me, and I always knew I needed a new name. I just didn't feel magical, Dr. Joan Handgarter. And it was Joan of Angels. I heard the Hallelujah chorus, and that was it. That's how I took it. But it took me 7 years to step into it. It's one thing to have a name that's powerful, like Joan of Angels. It's the other to step into what that meant. I'd be embarrassed. I'd go up on stage. I'm Joan of Angels. My daughter yelled at me. How come you tell people that, Mom? Why aren't you telling people you're not your Dr. Handgarter? This is too embarrassing, Mom.
Wow. And
it took me 7 years to understand why I was given that name and what it means. And in 2020, right, it was the summer of 2020, and, it was a rough time, masked up, and it was a crazy time
I've
for
heard
us.
of that time period before, yeah.
Yeah, right. So it was a crazy period, and I'm thinking, well, shouldn't I be depressed, or I don't know what, something's not right here, and because I didn't know how I was supposed to be feeling, and I heard my voice, and it said, so you think you're the only Joan of Angels on the planet. And energetically, yes, it's true. No one's named Joan of Angels. But if you don't want to do the mission that you came in here and for which you're named, don't worry about it, honey. We'll give it to someone else.
Yeah.
Someone else can do Joan of Angels probably better than you. So if you're not aligned with it, don't worry about it. There's thousands of people ready. And it was like having little angel slaps. Okay. It was like, oh my God, holy moly.
Yeah.
And I stepped up. It really helped me anchor in what I had learned. And I made that decision. I'm a master teacher. I'm gonna resonate at that frequency now.
I'm so glad you gave presence to that, because I think consciousness wants to bring things into the physical 3-dimensional realm. And I do think that if you have a great idea, you should act on it, because if you don't, it's no problem. Someone else will.
Right. Someone else will, and you won't. And then in the end, when you don't say, the key is in learning to say yes to these messages, yes to the guidance that you're getting, because it can change and uplift your life.
Yeah.
Like I said yes to traveling. I didn't know where I was going. Half my family did not want me to go anywhere. But I had to listen to this voice inside. It's like, I want to change my life. This is the direction. It's what I was told to do.
What's the family dynamic? Were you in partnership? You have kids? What was that like?
Well, I have 2 kids. They're in their 30s. Beautiful children. My daughter lives in London. My son lives in Northern California. But they're not really into what I'm into, except my son actually came to the last show I did. He didn't hear my presentation, but he ran my booth. And he's coming up with me to Sedona. And he said, Mom, the classes sounded really interesting. The people were nice. So you never know.
Yeah.
So hopefully they'll start slowly but steadily being more awake to some of this. And I'm single, calling forth my twin flame. Somewhere, if you hear this.
Hey, if you're taking applications, I'm sure there's some people out there who would like to sign up. So, yeah.
Usually take applications for the art, but
It's fun. What's next? I mean, what's the fire and the passion? Is it, sharing the gifts you have with others to let them know they have gifts? I mean, what's the thing you're working on?
Well, first of all, I'm working on my stage presence. I really want to speak in large audiences. I keep envisioning huge audiences, and I really teach people how to connect with their soul and how to turn on their power, turn on your light, and that's very exciting to me. I have them all standing up and really feeling that presence that's within all of us. So I'm looking for larger stages. I'm going to be speaking in Barcelona in June, speaking in Las Vegas in June, and then I think I'll be doing some traveling in Europe. But when I come back, I'm going to be in Santa Fe for a few months because I feel like my art needs to go to Santa Fe.
Yeah, that's a hub for
Right?
consciousness too.
And I've had this vision for years of being in like a tower in Santa Fe and sending out messages of miracles and love. And I don't know where that comes from, but I thought, okay, I'm going to go to Santa Fe now and see how that lands for me.
Well, share how people connect with you and the plethora of services that you offer.
And it's a lot of services that I offer, but all my services are designed to help you step into your biggest dreams and your visions and really become who you know you can be. But I offer sessions, readings, spiritual advising, soul awakening sessions, wing fluffing sessions. I offer art activations, and I offer coaching. So some people just want to kind of work to get to where they want to go.
At the end of the show, I like to say if there's one thing you want people to be left with, what is that one thing?
I want everyone to understand you have the potential to live an amazing, outrageously miraculous life. Just being here on the planet is actually miraculous to be here now. So all of you have that potential. And it's just a matter of trusting that you have it, letting go of what keeps you from seeing it, and saying yes to what comes through for you to start to do and step into.
Yeah. Well, it's been so good to get to learn a little bit more about you. And to you, my friend, I say namaste.
And to you, I say, and so it is.
And so it is. High five.
Thanks for joining us here on Exploring the Human Journey. For more information, go to the website at exploringthehumanjourney.com.